Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Another quick game of interplanetary I Spy going on here, back on Mars, and we are looking at a couple of images today. One of them is from Sol 51, which is this one. Interesting image, nice. Bit of background there, bit of foreground. Some pretty average looking rocks there, but there is something there which caught my eye, and there's also this image, which was brought to my attention actually by someone from one of the Facebook groups. I'm not sure which person it was now. I will try and find it. This ball thing here. Now, we found lots of balls on Mars, spheres or spherules or whatever you want to call them. NASA call these blueberries, and in some areas you get loads of them together, like scattered around. But generally, in the last couple of years, you get the odd one of these. Sometimes they're bigger, sometimes they're smaller. Some people have speculated that they might be a type of fungi or puffball or something like that. I don't think they are. I actually think these are metallic, and I'll show you why in a second. So there's two images to look at here. I will put links to the Gigapans as well for these as well in the description, as well as these single images, so you can actually download them and have a look, or go on the Gigapan and zoom around and have a proper look around the whole area, which I think is actually a better way of doing things. And I've got some comparative stuff here to show, to kind of click through as well to show you. So before we go any further, I'll go to the folders. Let's look at the ball first. Now, what was cool about this one is the person who put it up on Facebook, I didn't save their name on here, but here's the clip they put up on Facebook. And you can see how reflective this thing is. This has been enhanced slightly. But also it has a nipple shaped thing here. Now this is very particular, and I've shown this in other videos that I've done in the last year or two about spheres on Mars. Small, these are small, these are only about a centimetre or less in size, probably about 8 or 9 millimeters. They're quite small. There's another one here. There's another one up here. This is really nice, this one, perfectly round. Okay, that was really cool. I haven't done any enhancements to that yet. I will clip some of these out again if necessary and put them at the end of the video so you can see them up close. The one we're looking at is this one. Now here's the raw image, and one thing struck me straight away about this was this is quite close up, obviously, to the rover, and these things are very small. Nothing on this picture is more than about an inch across, I'd imagine. This rock here is probably about 1.5 inches, maybe. This one, don't really know exactly, but all of this stuff is small. It's all about 1 inch size. And up in the corner here we have the ball, and there we have it, and it's very reflective. I think this is another metallic ball, not an organic spherule or something like that, or pebble. I think it's made of lead. And another thing, whilst I was looking at that, I started looking at it and cutting it out and doing some enhancements, and I thought, hang on a minute, what's this in front of it? Oh, wrong folder. Got the other folder. There's a thing right next to it. I'll show you the raw clip. There's the ball with this kind of reflection of kind of sort of 5 kind of spots there. It's like a little shape there, like a little star shape sort of thing. That is quite reflective, and these images have been downgraded partly, and they've also got this horrible orangey pukey filter over them, and that makes everything kind of look kind of a browny pinky sort of colour, which is pretty horrible. But we have here next to it a skull, a very small primate skull, like a monkey or something very similar to a monkey. And without doing anything to this image, this is completely raw. If I zoom back a bit, you'll probably see it a bit more clearly. You've got a skull here, back of the cranium. You have a maxilla here, nose. You can just about make out some teeth and a jawbone here. And what's cool about this one is it still has the jawbone, and this is where the eye socket is here. Now I do appreciate this looks pretty vague, but this is probably a fossil, maybe a million years old, maybe millions of years old, don't know, have no idea. It's pretty vague, and until you enhance it, you can't see a lot of detail, but even if you don't enhance it, you look really carefully, let your eyes adjust, try and ignore the blurriness, and concentrate on these lighter parts here, and this dark shadow here. That is a jawbone, and these are teeth. This is a snout, and this is an eye socket. It does look very vague, but you have to look at the very subtle differences in shadow here and shape, and you can actually see those teeth quite clearly without doing anything to the image. So I'm pretty convinced on this one. It's not the best monkey skull, potential monkey skull fossil or specimen that I found on Mars. There are other better ones, but this is quite close up. Even though it's very small, it's very close to the rover, and we do have some detail. I'll show you the enhancement of that. There we have it. I've colour corrected it, which makes it go bluer. I've added contrast and brightness just to make this easier to see, and you can see how now how reflective this ball is, and you can actually see that nipple on it there a lot more clearly. And the skull, you can actually see the shadow here, you can see the teeth, you can see the eye socket and the jawbone here quite clearly. It's a bit fuzzy, yes, but this is very small, and it's only a 1.7 or so megapixel camera on the rover. So when you zoom into these things, there's not millions of pixels to work with. You've only got a few hundred, probably over the anomaly to work with, so it does get fuzzy. So zooming in too far, like a lot of people do with these things, doesn't help, but you can see the teeth here, and the jaw, and the eye socket. Pretty vague, I know, but this is probably a fossil, and it could have been sat there for a very, very long time. It may much of this may have been buried and recently uncovered by a dust devil, perhaps, could have come through here and blown away some of the sand, exposing some of these things. And as a comparison, I've got a monkey skull here. It's not like this. This is from Earth, obviously, but it does have a similar shape. The eye socket on this it goes right up to the top here, much bigger, and a very pronounced sort of maxilla here. Like most monkeys have a quite pronounced maxilla, pointed snout kind of configuration here, quite big teeth. It's nothing like the one we got on Mars, because obviously that's from Mars, but it gives you a general idea of the morphology of a monkey skull. This one's probably more similar. If you imagine this with a longer cranial shape here, like an elongated skull, then it would be more like the one we're looking at. Let's go back to this. What I'll do at the end of the video, as I usually do, I'll put clips of this stuff together, and I'll flip this skull around and stick it on the picture there, so you can compare it right next to it and see the similarities. But it's there, and you've got some nice teeth there, and a jawbone, and an eye socket. I mean, what else do you need really to identify a skull or a fossil, mud fossil, or whatever you want to call it? And as a comparison, I've got a load of musket balls here, just to compare with the ball. Now, take note, these all have like a nipple on them, like a round bit here, see? This is where they were manufactured. Now, these particular musket balls, I think, were found in Scotland, and much like in the US in the American Civil War, and in the early Revolutionary War and stuff like that, these would have been handmade by the actual infantry guys as they were in the field. And what they would do is sit around the campfire with a mould, and melt a bit of lead and then pour it into the mould, and then let it cool down, and then you'd end up with a round ball, but it would have a nipple on it, and that nipple would have to then be cut off and then filed down to make a round like this. This is a nice clean fresh one, but this is where the nipple is, and this would be cut off with a pair of pliers, a special tool, and then filed off. You can see the file marks here. See these lines? Lines going across it. Those are file marks where the nipple has been filed down so that it won't get stuck in the barrel of the gun. Right. There are videos about this that I've done before. I won't go through it all now. Basically, I did find a musket that looks like a pistol on Mars. This was a couple of years ago now, and it's in this video, Mars Mystery Object Collection, Extensive Evidence Part 2, narrated. This is quite a long video, but it has a load of stuff in here, including this pistol that I found. I'll play that through a little bit. And this is really small. I mean, this pistol's probably only a few inches long, no more than 3 or 4 inches, I'd say. So, what sort of ammunition would it have fired? Possibly rounds, like we're seeing. And in some areas, there's loads of these things. Rounds, I mean, not guns. A guy over in the US, Mike Mulder, actually did an illustration of this, which was really cool. Did it in 3D. It's got a letter M on the side of it, or a number 3 here, just to make it out there. And if you can see that. M for Mars, perhaps? Who knows? But there's the 3D model of it that Mike did. And you can see it a lot more clearly in his model, because he's obviously done that on his 3D rendering program, and that's great. And you've got the trigger detail there, the number 3 or M on the handle. Okay, so it's well worth looking at that video. I won't go all through that now. There's loads of stuff in here, and there's other weapons, possible weapons, like the cannon, and this is the cannon. There's all sorts of crazy stuff in here. Yeah, I mean, I'll let you have a look through that if you haven't seen it already. There was this other thing that looks a bit like a gun here as well. Loads of crazy stuff. Yeah, so let's move on. I don't want to dwell too long on the other stuff. You can. What I'll do, I'll put links to the relevant videos at the end of this one, like I usually do, so you can click on the actual card at the end on the screen, and it will take you straight to whichever one you like. So you can either look at the Mars musket ball, or the pistol, or whatever. I'll have a link to one of the compilation videos there as well, so you can watch it, or perhaps one of the playlists. Don't forget, you can get a free app. By going to my channel, you go to the app icon on the screen there. This links to over 20 million images of space, most of them of Mars, but also the Moon and all the other planets, and all the rover images you can look at, and it gives you all the links you need. So if you want to become a Mars researcher, or any type of researcher in space, this is a very good start, because it will give you all the links you need. I cannot emphasize that enough. Okay, so do get that if you haven't got it already. It will not harm your device. It has no advertising on it. It has nothing on it. It's completely free. It's basically out there for anyone who wants to research Mars or the Moon or Pluto or anywhere else in our solar system. Okay, so we also have this image. Now, this one was weird. Now, I've been going through a lot of the earlier sols again, like Sol up to around Sol 50 and up to about Sol 75 and 100 and that kind of thing. And I thought there's got to be more stuff. If I found about 4 or 5 different monkey skulls, there must be more. If they're real, there must be more than 5. There must be 10. There must be 20. Okay. So I've got this one. There's at least a few others that I've found. Some of them may just be rocks, but I really think some of them are not. The chimpanzee skull, for instance, is actually very clear. And I'll put a link to that at the end as well. And I'll put all the relevant links at the end, as I usually do. So yes, then there was this image. And I've been looking at this for a while now. It's been up on my desktop for probably over a month. And I've been a bit reluctant to publish this, because it may just be a rock, but actually, when you look at it, it kind of looks like something else. I'll show you the clips I've got of it here, and like I said, I'm very sceptical about this one. But I'll show you the raw image first and see what you think. You zoom in to the centre of the image, lower centre here, where this dark object is. And you have these large rocks in front. And we have this really dark one here, which is much darker than all the others in the area. Different kind of colour, different kind of sort of luminosity to it as well. It's quite dark. And it looks like a monkey or some kind of creature there. Now, this may be another case of an optical rock illusion, a bit like the giant mouse was a couple of years ago. And there have been lots of others where people have said they've got people, Mars people and things like that, and the ghost woman, whatever that was a pile of crap, that was. Some channels made a lot of headway with absolute rubbish like that, and it's just an optical illusion. So I freely admit that a lot of these things may be optical illusions, because the image quality isn't fantastic. Not too bad here. And here's the clip. This is from the Gigapan of the area, so this has been probably cleaned up a little bit, but this is quite fuzzy and choppy. Okay, I've decided to re-record this very short segment because I was interrupted by the dog next door howling and barking, making an absolute racket, and you could probably hear it in the background there. I've tried to cut most of it out, but some of it you may hear. So yes, we were just looking at the close-up here of the possible monkey or whatever creature this might be. I don't know. Now, I hope this doesn't go out of sync, so I'll do this slowly. We have what looks like an eye here, an ear here, a mouth here, chin here, a shiny nose here, and that actually looks better in the enhancement, which I've done here, which is I've upped the contrast here. Eye, ear, shiny nose, teeth, this is the mouth obviously, lower lip, chin, quite a robust jaw, mandible, and what looks kind of like hair, almost like a curly kind of texture to it as well. Now this may not be, of course, this may actually be an optical illusion, or it may be some kind of coral. Now there are types of brain coral that look like very lifelike or animal-like, animalistic looking, and it may be something like that, as this area was underwater. So this may be some kind of sea creature that's growing on here, or was once growing on here, and it may just be a rock with barnacles, or mollusks of some sort growing on it. Who knows? But it's a very interesting shape, but it does look like a mouth with teeth here. If you see that, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's about 5 teeth there. Quite a good shadow there, and this does look like a jaw here, and a shiny nose. And when you look at the eye, it's getting closer. There's a pupil here and a lighter part here. Okay, so that does look like an eye with a pupil just there. Crazy stuff. Okay, but of course it may not be. It may just be an optical illusion. I took a closer up of it, and it looks worse. This is much worse. You get in too close, these things break up. So you've got to get the distance just right when you're showing detail on these, because the image quality isn't great. I appreciate that. But it does look like a creature, kind of like a monkey, kind of a bit like a macaque, kind of a bit like a gorilla, but not really. I couldn't really tell you. It may just be a rock with some growth on it. As I've said before with a lot of these things, they do look as if they're organic, or at least have organic stuff on them, okay? And that is visible even in the raw image. You just need to up the contrast. In fact, in some ways it looks slightly clearer. The eye, for instance, there, you can see that pupil. But who knows, it could be an optical illusion, so I'm not going to go too far down that road, but many other monkey and other animal skulls have been found in this area, by me mostly, and other people. There are dozens and dozens of them, so why should this be another case of that? I've got a long shot of it here, actually. Here's a shot from the Gigapan. So yeah, this is actually quite a long way off. It may be 20 or 30 feet away. Hard to say, but either way, it's not that close, but it kind of does look clearer from this distance. You can see that ear and the eye and the mouth. Really odd. So is it or isn't it? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not saying it is for definite. I couldn't possibly prove that. Someone would actually have to go up to this thing and take some photographs around it, or the rover could do that, of course. Of course, a sample would prove this either way. A simple sample would would help. And there are lots of things that do look a bit like heads on Mars. This is the problem. Like this thing. This is in the same area. It initially looks like a rock, but when you zoom in, well, hang on a minute. It's got a nose. It's got 2 eyes and teeth here. You can see teeth sticking down. In fact, let's stick that in here and have a look at it. I've got those 2 here. There's the raw image next to the enhanced image. Let's make that a bit smaller so you can see both of them. Raw and enhanced. What do you think now? I mean, that's a better scale to look at it. You know, if you get it too close, it kind of just blurs out, like I said. The mouth looks pretty clear there, and the nose. The snout there, that snout, and a big ear. So yeah, I quite like this one. It may just be a rock, as I said, optical rock illusion. Another case of perhaps not. And is it possible they could be preserved so perfectly, so well? Yes. The lack of oxygen and moisture in this area would do that. They wouldn't oxidize, they would freeze, they would desiccate, dry out very, very quickly, and probably could last for thousands of years on the surface, many thousands of years, possibly 100,000 years, even longer. Don't really know, but I'm sure it's possible to prove it by doing an experiment. If you were to get something and like a piece of flesh or something, or a dead animal, and put it in a container and suck all the oxygen out of it, and fill it full of carbon dioxide like you get on Mars. You could simulate the Mars atmosphere and remove all the moisture, and I'm sure that thing would last a very, very long time, especially if it's frozen, probably millions of years. Okay, so I think that is possible. So I think that's probably it for this one. I will put some more clips in at the end. I'll put some more enhancements in and some comparative images. And if there's anything else in these images I find that's worth looking at, I'll put them in as well. So that was about it. Let's have another very quick look at the ball again, and musket balls. They have nipples on, and these particular ones have got a ridge around them as well, which I'm not seeing on this Mars one. Let's go back to this. It's the best enhancement, I think. Well, that one is. It's much brighter, but it does have a nipple there, as if it's been manufactured, and then the nipple's been cut off, leaving a nipple mark. And this skull looks pretty good, even with just some basic contrast enhancement. Eye socket, nose, teeth, jaw, elongated skull, but this is literally probably only an inch long, maybe 2 at the most. But yeah, this is small, real small stuff. And it kind of does tie in with the scale of other things that have been found on Mars by me and other people who are finding very small things. Mars is only about, it's less than half the size of the Earth, and it's about 38% the size of the Earth, or something like that. So this might explain why everything was about 1/3 of the size. I mean, we do have very small monkeys on Earth as well, and small primates, but perhaps on Mars they were even smaller again. And this does tie in with a lot of the other finds that have been found. So, thanks for watching, everybody. Please give the thumbs up, it really helps. Please share on social media if you can. And always bear in mind, when investigating alien planets, an open mind is required, because one day our very survival may depend on it. Okay? Thanks for watching. See you soon.